I can't. Don't make me sacrifice my madam's daughter. She's innocent. I'm just the maid. Please. The baby screamed like a siren. Then the sound cut off like a hand had pressed mute on life. David froze. Tonia's heart went cold. Outside, Lagos roared horns, downfall buses, the smell of smoke and rain. Inside their tiny flat in Surulere, silence sat heavy. Tonia ran to the crib. Baby Joy stared up, wide-eyed, calm, as if the scream was a lie. The window shook even though the air was still. A mirror on the wall had a thin crack that wasn't there in the morning. They had no help. Tonia was tired. David worked late. The landlady kept asking for light bills, even when NEPA failed them. So they put out a call for a nanny. Many came, many left. Joy cried with all of them. Then Ruth arrived. Small, quiet, eyes dark like night water, touch gentle as wind. When she held Joy, the child sighed, smiled, slept. Too easy, too fast. Tonia felt a knot in her belly, like a warning bell. David smiled with relief. He did not hear the bell. Tonia watched Ruth hum an old tune she didn't know. The tune made the cracked mirror tremble. The first week felt like magic. Joy slept. Joy ate. Joy laughed. Ruth moved like a shadow, soft and fast. Her steps light on the tiles. She cleaned bottles, washed tiny clothes, wrote feed times in neat lines. But small things were wrong. The curtains breathed when the fan was off. The basin water swirled by itself. At night, Tonia woke to a smell like wet wood and cold iron. She found a new hair on the floor, white like ash, too long to be hers, not David's, not Ruth's. Tonia told David. He rubbed his eyes. "You're tired," he said. "Ruth is a blessing. Please, let us rest." The next day, Tonia noticed chalky marks under Joy's crib. Circles, tiny X signs. When she bent to touch them, the marks faded like fog. She looked at Ruth. Ruth smiled, kind and steady, but her eyes were far away, like she was listening to something no one else could hear. What was Ruth hearing? What were the marks for? Why did Joy reach for Ruth even before she reached for her mother? The questions opened a door in Tonia's mind. Curiosity walked in and locked it from inside. The generator hummed. Rain tapped on the metal roof like small feet running. The corridor smelled of fried fish and kerosene. Voices rose and fell. Somewhere a baby cried, then stopped. Tonia sat on the bed, phone light low, watching Joy sleep. Ruth sat on a stool near the door, hands folded, eyes on the window. She did not blink much. "Ruth," Tonia whispered, "how did you learn to calm babies like this?" "My mother taught me," Ruth said, "and her mother taught her. It is old work." "What work?" Tonia asked. Ruth smiled again, but the smile looked borrowed. "Care work," she said. Later, the power returned for a moment. The bulb flashed. The mirror crack widened. Just a hair, like a mouth trying to speak. Tonia stood. The light went out. In the dark, Tonia heard Ruth humming. The sound was sweet, yet the hair on Tonia's arm stood up. It was a song without words. It felt like a path in a forest. It felt like if you followed, you would not come back. In the crib, Joy's tiny hand reached into the air, as if holding an invisible finger. On Saturday, Tonia took Joy to the street market. The sun was bold, the ground wet, the air alive with pepper and palm oil. Women called out, "Madame, fresh tomato, sweet orange." An old woman by the spice stall watched Joy with sharp eyes. "Fine, baby," she said. "Born in a strange moon, eh?" Tonia blinked. "How do you mean?" The woman leaned close. Her breath smelled of smoke and kola nuts. "Some babies are candles," she said. "Their light calls birds and bats. Some birds are not birds. Some bats are not bats. Keep a clean ring round her. Keep a faithful heart. Watch who holds her at night." Tonia laughed, but it was thin. "Mama, please." The woman pressed a leather cord into Tonia's palm. "Tie it near the crib," she said. "No price. A mother should sleep." When Tonia reached home, she almost forgot the cord. She found Ruth airing Joy's clothes by the window, singing that soft song. Tonia tied the cord to the crib leg. At midnight, the leather cord snapped without a hand on it. Ruth looked up from the stool, no surprise in her face, only a small, tired. David came home late, shed damp from the rain, face lined. He kissed Joy, kissed Tonia, nodded to Ruth. "You are doing well," he told the nanny. After Ruth slept on the couch, Tonia spoke. "David, something is wrong," she said. "The mirror, the cord, the song." David rubbed his forehead. "We prayed for help," he said. "Help came. Don't push it away." "Help doesn't make leather break," Tonia said. "Help doesn't make water spin by itself." "Listen," David said, voice harder. "Our child is finally sleeping. You want to chase the only person who can do that. For what? For a broken cord?" Tonia's eyes watered. "You don't believe me," she said. "I believe we need rest," David said. He picked Joy up and swayed, whispering, "Daddy is here." In the dark, Ruth's eyes opened. She heard every word. She turned to the window. The glass showed her face and another face behind it, thin, long, hungry. The other face smiled with black teeth. Ruth began to hum again, quiet like a wall. On the floor, chalk marks that no one had drawn appeared and then faded like mist. The night was thick, no wind, no cars. Only the drip of water from a crack in the roof. Tonia woke to a whisper. It was a baby's voice, but not Joy's. It spoke like a small flute. "Come," he said. "Come, candle child." Tonia sat up, heart pounding. Joy lay still. The whisper came from the window. She looked. A shadow hung there, like fog with eyes. The eyes were white and empty. Ruth moved before Tonia screamed. She stood by the window, hand raised, palm open. She spoke in a slow tongue, like water over stones. The shadow hissed and pulled back. The glass fogged, then cleared. Tonia stared. "What did you say?" she asked. "Go back," Ruth said, still facing the window. "This child is not for you." "Who are you?" Tonia whispered. Ruth turned. In the dark, her eyes looked old, very old. "Someone who keeps promises," she said. David woke and switched on the torch. "What is it?" he asked, sleepy fear in his voice. "Nothing," Ruth said quickly. "Just wind." But there was no wind, only a new crack crawling across the mirror like a thin spider. The night was thick, no wind, no cars, only the drip of water from a crack in the roof. Tonia woke to a whisper. It was a baby's voice, but not Joy's. It spoke like a small flute. "Come," he said. "Come, candle child." Tonia sat up, heart pounding. Joy lay still. The whisper came from the window. She looked. A shadow hung there, like fog with eyes. The eyes were white and empty. Ruth moved before Tonia screamed. She stood by the window, hand raised, palm open. She spoke in a slow tongue, like water over stones. The shadow hissed and pulled back. The glass fogged, then cleared. Tonia stared. "What did you say?" she asked. "Go back," Ruth said, still facing the window. "This child is not for you." "Who are you?" Tonia whispered. Ruth turned. In the dark, her eyes looked old, very old. "Someone who keeps promises," she said. David woke and switched on the torch. "What is it?" he asked, sleepy fear in his voice. "Nothing," Ruth said quickly. "Just wind." But there was no wind, only a new crack crawling across the mirror like a thin spider. That night, Tonia woke to a dim glow. She sat up. A candle burned on the floor by the crib. Beside it, a small metal bowl held water that shimmered like a tiny lake. Ruth knelt there, singing low, words like ash and honey. Tonia's breath cut short. "What is this?" she said, stepping forward. Ruth did not stop. The water trembled. Joy slept on, deep and calm. "Ruth!" Tonia grabbed her shoulder. "Stop this now." Ruth looked up, tears on her face. "I am holding the door," she said. "Only for tonight. They are restless." "Who is they?" David's voice came from the doorway, rough with sleep and anger. He saw the candle and the bowl and rushed to kick them. Don't! Ruth cried, but it was late. The candle fell, the water spilled, the flame went out with a hiss. The air turned heavy. A smell of burning hair filled the room. The mirror cracked again, long and loud, like a scream hidden inside glass. Joy stared and whimpered. The shadow on the window thickened. Ruth stood, eyes fierce. You have broken the calm, she said. Now hold your child. Morning came slow. The room felt empty but tense, like after a fight. Ruth stood by the sink, washing the bowl with shaking hands. Tonia faced her. David stood behind, arms folded. Tell us the truth, Tonia said, voice low. Ruth dried her hands. I am part of a circle, she said. A coven. We do not hurt children. We guard the ones born with a mark. We keep the dark things from feeding. David scoffed. Coven means witches, he said. Witches bring harm. Ruth's eyes flashed. Some break, some build, she said. We build walls you cannot see. We keep watch when mothers sleep. Why our child? Tonia asked, fingers tight around Joy's blanket. Because she is a candle, Ruth said, and because your grandmother once kept me from the rain when I had nowhere to go. She fed me bread. She said, pay it forward. I am paying. Tonia's mouth fell open. My grandmother, Ruth nodded. Mama Esther, she had eyes. She knew the old roads. Silence. Outside, a hawker cried, pure water. The city moved on. Inside, their small room changed forever. Ruth went to the corridor to make a call. Her voice was quiet, but Tonia heard a tremble. They know, Ruth whispered. I told them to trust me. Later that day, 3 women came to the compound. They looked like ordinary aunties' head ties, calm faces, warm smiles, but their eyes were watchful. Ruth, the tallest, said, we need to speak. In the kitchen, they spoke in that slow old tongue. Tonia stood by the door, hearing only pieces. Rules, exposure, danger, penance. Ruth came out with a calm face and red eyes. I must go to the circle house tonight, she said. They want to make things right. What does that mean? David asked. It means I shared what was secret, Ruth said. They will test my oath. Tonia held Joy close. Will you come back? Ruth looked at Joy and smiled like sunlight. I made a promise, she said. To your child, I will keep it. That night, when the street slept, Tonia peeked through the window slats and saw Ruth walking down the road, small and brave, the rain drawing a thin silver line around her. Ruth reached an old compound near Yaba. The house looked plain brown paint, low gate, quiet, but the air around it felt like a held breath. In the yard, a neem tree bent as if listening. Inside, 12 women sat in a circle. A clay bowl stood in the center, steaming faintly. The tallest woman, Adaeze, spoke. You broke our law, she said. I told the truth to a mother, Ruth said. The child is marked. The walls around her were thin. Another woman, Ngozi, frowned. We have our ways, she said. Now they will look for you, and through you they will find the baby. Ruth bowed her head. Then tie me, she said. Hide me. Use me as bait, but do not leave the child bare. The women looked at one another. Adaeze sighed. The old road asks for balance, she said. Your life for her life. Are you ready? Ruth closed her eyes. The image of Joy's tiny hand floated in her mind. Yes, she said. They placed ash on her forehead. They tied a red thread round her wrists. The bowl hissed. Outside, a blackbird landed on the neem tree and watched with bright, empty eyes. Back in Surulere, David's friend Kunle came by. He was loud, funny, and always had news. Guy, this nanny matter, he said, lowering his voice. I hear some people use children for power. David rubbed his neck. We just want peace, he said. Kunle's eyes hardened. Peace without truth is danger, he said. If she's a witch, she will harm your child. Do something. The rain began, soft, then heavy. Kunle grabbed David's arm. I know someone, he said. A prayer man, strong one. he would drive her out. Tonia shook her head. Please, don't bring strangers to this house. But fear is a seed that grows fast. When night fell, Kunle came with the prayer man. He wore a white shirt and a hard face. He stepped in like a storm. Where is the nanny? He demanded. She's not here, Tonia said, hugging Joy. He placed oil on the door, on the window, on the mirror. If she returns, she will show her true face, he said. Outside, the rain beat hard. Far away, in the house with no door, Ruth felt a sting on her wrist, where the red thread lay. She knew something had broken. At midnight, the prayer man began to shout. He called down fire with fierce words. The oil on the mirror smoked. The crack grew thick like a river. Tonia felt sick. Joy cried for the first time in days, a wild, scared cry. She reached for Ruth, but Ruth was gone. Then the window darkened. A shape pressed against it, wide and tall, with fingers like long bones. The air smelled of rot. The prayer man shouted louder. The shape laughed, a dry, empty sound. Stop! Tonia cried. You are making it angry. David grabbed her. He is helping, he said, but his voice shook. The window burst inward. Glass flew like rain. The shape slid into the room, tall as the wall, eyes like holes. Joy screamed. The prayer man's voice cracked. He fell back, oil bottle rolling on the floor. A hand reached from the dark for the crib. The door banged open. Ruth stood there, wet, shaking, eyes bright. She did not look human, and yet she looked more human than anyone. Leave the child, she said. Her voice was not loud, but the room heard. Ruth stepped forward, palm up. The red thread on her wrist glowed like a coal. She began to sing, not soft now, but strong and high. The song was a wall. It was a drum. It hit the shape and pushed it back an inch. The shape hissed. The light bulb popped. The room fell into dark and moonlight. David stood between Tonia and the crib, shaking but firm. The prayer man crawled to the corner, whispering a small broken prayer. Ruth sang names, old names, river names, names that tasted like salt and smoke. Each name laid another brick in the wall. The shape pressed and pressed. The mirror on the floor showed rushing water. Give me the child, the shape said. Its voice was like dry leaves. Take me, Ruth said. Her light is not your food. The shape paused, then smiled with no mouth. Gladly, it said. Tonia cried out, no, but Ruth did not look back. She kept singing. The red thread flamed. The chalk marks rose on the tiles, like bright lines drawn by invisible hands. The room smelled of rain on hot ground. The wall held. For a while, Ruth's voice began to shake. Sweat ran down her face. The shape leaned harder. The wall cracked like ice. Ruth, Tonia whispered, what can we do? Hold each other, Ruth said between notes. Do not break. The prayer man stood, ashamed, but he came near. He began to pray again, this time softer, truer. David placed a hand on Tonia's shoulder. Tonia held Joy close, heart to heart, cheek to cheek. Ruth pulled something from her pocket, a small bundle wrapped in red cloth. She placed it on the floor and pressed her palm on it. Old mother, she said, I kept your bread in my bones. Let it count. The bundle burnt without fire. The wall shone again. The shape screamed, a long, thin sound that made the glass in the window tremble. Your life, the shape said. Give it. Ruth nodded once. For hers, she said. Tonia sobbed. Please, she said. There must be another way. Ruth looked at Joy and smiled. There is always a way, she said, but some ways pass through fire. Ruth stepped into the circle of chalk. She drew a line on her own palm with the broken edge of glass. A single drop of blood fell and did not touch the floor. It hung in the air like a small red star. The shape stepped back. It knew the old rule. A willing gift binds the hungry hand. Ruth raised both arms. Her song turned into a low hum. The air grew warm. A light rose from the floor. soft at first, then bright, like sunrise trapped in a room. Fire appeared around Ruth, but it did not burn the curtains or the bed or the child. It was a fire that only knew her name. Ruth! Tonia cried. Ruth smiled at them all, Tonia, David, even the prayer man, and then at Joy. Tell her I kept my promise, she said. The darkness will not touch her again. The fire folded in. Ruth's body became light, then ash, then a fine golden dust that hung in the air and then was gone. The shape howled and tore at the wall. The wall did not move. The shape pulled back through the broken window and melted into the Lagos night. Dawn came grey and slow. The room smelled like rain and something sweet, like burnt sugar. The mirror lay in pieces. The window was open to a clean sky. Tonia sat on the floor with Joy asleep on her chest. David crouched beside them, eyes red. The prayer man stood near the door, hat in his hands, shame like a shadow on his face. I was proud, he said. Pride makes fire blind. I am sorry. David nodded. Help us fix the window, he said. Neighbors came with questions. Tonia said little. She kept seeing Ruth smile. That last, brave light. They found the red thread on the floor, now a thin line of gold. Tonia placed it in a small tin box. She tied the leather cord again to the crib. She swept the chalk off the floor, but some of it would not go. It had sunk into the tile like a tattoo. That night, Joy slept deep. No whispers came to the window. The room was still. But Tonia could not sleep. She lay awake and listened to the city and to the soft space where Ruth's humming had been. Time walked forward. Joy grew. She learned to say mama, then daddy, then why. She ran through the compound, hair flying, shoes slapping the ground like small drums. But Joy was not like other children. She would stop sometimes and turn her head as if someone called her name from a place no one could see. She would wave at empty corners and smile at blank walls. One day, on the bus over Third Mainland Bridge, Joy looked at the water and said, "They live down there, but they cannot climb if you sing." Tonia felt a chill and a warm pride at the same time. She told Joy stories of a brave woman named Ruth who sang walls. Joy listened with wide eyes and asked, "Where did she go?" "She became light," Tonia said. "She kept you safe." Joy held the little tin box with the gold thread. She would not let it far from her bed. At night, when the wind moved the curtains, Joy whispered, "Thank you." Sometimes, when the room was very quiet, a soft hum answered, like honey, like ash, like a promise kept. When Joy turned 12, a group of women came on a quiet Sunday afternoon. They wore simple clothes. Their faces were kind and strong. Tonia knew at once. Adaize stepped forward. "We have watched from far," she said. "The roads are safe for now. The child's light is her own, but light must be taught to walk." Tonia looked at Joy, tall and bright-eyed. "What does that mean?" "It means we can teach her to close her window when she sleeps," Adaize said, smiling, "to open it when she must, to trust herself, to stand as Ruth stood, but without the fire." Joy held Tonia's hand. "Can I learn?" she asked. Tonia's eyes filled. "Only if you want," she said. Joy nodded. "I want to sing walls," she said. Adaize laughed softly. "Walls, and also doors," she said. "Not every shadow is a thief. Some are lost. You will know the difference." They sat together till evening, drinking zobo and sharing bread. They spoke of simple things, school, chores, the price of pepper, and also of old things, names that taste like salt and smoke. The house felt full but light. On the night before Joy turned 18, Tonia lit one candle and placed the tin box beside it. The room was calm. The city hummed outside like a huge, gentle generator. Joy stood by the window, tall and sure. She opened the tin and lifted the gold line that was once a thread. It shone softly. She tied it around her wrist. "Are you afraid?" Tonia asked. Joy shook her head. "I feel awake," she said, "like I have been hearing a song for years and now I know the words." She closed her eyes and began to hum not Ruth's song, but her own. The air in the room grew warm and kind. No shape came, no mirror cracked, only peace. Joy turned to Tonia and David, who stood together, hands linked. I will use my light well, she said. I will build. I will not let fear rule me. Tonia hugged her. David kissed her head. Outside, Lagos blinked with a million small lights. Inside, one young woman's light rose and did not call the hungry things. It called hope. And somewhere, where songs become roads, Ruth smiled. The nanny from a coven had kept her promise. The child she saved became the wall and the door. Not every mystery is evil. Not every silence hides danger. Sometimes, the people the world fears the most are the ones silently fighting for its safety. Ruth's story reminds us that love wears many faces, some ordinary, some strange, and that true protection often comes from sacrifice. It teaches that faith and fear are not the same where fear divides. Faith sees deeper. And above all, it shows that light doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums softly in the dark. In the end, Tonia and David learned that understanding is stronger than suspicion and that human connection can heal even the oldest wounds of fear. Because when we choose trust over panic, we open the door for grace, and grace always wins. If this story moved you, take a moment to share it. Someone out there needs to hear that the people we judge too quickly might be the ones guarding our peace. Comment light if you believe goodness can come from the most unexpected places. And remember, fear fades, but love and sacrifice live forever.